Okay. How much do you know already?
I know that my house is in shambles, and what you've told me on the phone, pretty much.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay. I'm sure you're aware of... the Resistance. Have you heard any of their broadcasts?
No, you'd mentioned it previously, I'm pretty sure.
After New Babylon, or Babylonians, I should say, broke out of prison, we began to look for them. About 2.5 weeks back, a broadcast hit the airwaves. Broadcasts take place around 4 hours after tsunami, usually. The first broadcast was almost a claim against the charges brought forth to them. But then the second, that's when things sort of began to take a turn. Finley Milton, that day she held a big press conference. It was about removing Matt Rhodes and putting Den Shiesty as the chief of police for the LSPD.
Milton?
Finley Schmidt. Yeah, poor fucking Milton.
Yeah, not fair.
I'd say roughly 100 people gathered at Mission Row PD, where she then decided that she only wanted the police department to attend within the conference room. People were pissed. Among that crowd was Speedy. Now, we had known he was present, but given the danger of him pulling a gun and hurting others, we did not apprehend. Meeting continued on, where she made the announcement. Individuals with Speedy in his news attire likely made a recording in there. Towards the end of this speech, a broadcast went up. A broadcast which was coming down from the Russian docks by Buccaneer Way. We arrive, start to see what this antenna that had never been seen before, where it was connected to. And that's when there was a massive explosion leading to Maeve Wolf losing her arm. Vale being so badly injured that even now she's still awaiting to be released for medical. Octo and one other. Inside was not just explosives, but an entire meth lab. DNA coming back to a Lang Buddha. A weird eyeball and nose sort of collage, which is kind of hard to explain. They kind of look like almost like an emoji made of eyes and a nose. Now, both of these broadcasts, they were pointing fault at the government. The first one was about resisting. The second one was about how the mayor's office was corrupt and the state was corrupt. And their intention there was to blow up law enforcement in a form of revenge. Third broadcast came in, very similar, except this time they had broken into the house we were holding Alfonso after he was shot. There, on the table, was a relay sending this third broadcast out. Once again, talking about law enforcement and talking about two individuals they had marked as snitches. Artemis Quinn and Anya Nees. Both of them were in New Babylon. They took plea deals. But they had convinced themselves that they had snitched. what the tie-in there is unknown. I don't particularly believe there was any form of leak. I think it was likely drawing the conclusion that they took a plea, determined in that moment that they had to go. That was just their excuse. On that same wall, among their photos, there was Alfonso Sebastian. I don't know what the intention of that photo was, but nonetheless, once again, we saw the eyes and the nose formed in a shape that almost looked like it said NB on it. We disabled the relay. It stopped the broadcast temporarily, for us only to then find another antenna with another relay, which we once again disabled and then exploded. The fourth broadcast, once again, talking about law enforcement, how we aren't there to protect and serve, and as a means to try to send that message, they kidnapped a taco stall worker. The only one that was on duty, right from Senior Buns, whilst he still had vegetables and things on him, put him inside of a van and chained his hands to the steering wheel. And the van had a car bomb on it. This van was relaying that signal we were listening to, talking about how we law enforcement are not going to protect and serve, that we're going to not save people and put ourselves first. Well, we initially thought this, did not know who was in this van. When we got the signal, like we had a 911 call about an odd unregistered signal coming from a van. We found it, came to the realization this was someone kidnapped with a car bomb. And as we drove for 30 minutes, ensuring there was clear traffic for him to continue to drive in hopes that that bomb would eventually disable, as it typically do, we came to learn that the van that he was given was not in great shape, almost designed to fail. As we made our way into Polito, one tire went, then the next, then the next, then the next, until there were no wheels left. The engine began to turn on and off, and then eventually detonated. That individual recently just got out of ICU. We did let the victims and their friends know what had happened. There's an article in the Chronicle, I believe, last week in regards to it. And then there was yesterday. Yesterday, another message went out. Once again, shaking the fist against the government and the state and all entities, as if they're repressed, talking about how they're going to start a resistance, gather people together, get them to rise up, but against what? Because every action that they've taken up until that point is the antithesis of being for the people, but rather, effectively, in a way, it starts to paint a picture of blaming people for being involved in a democracy where our voice has some semblance of power, almost as if the system made by the people is to blame. Now, they haven't said so much, but that's, in my opinion, what the symbolism actually reads. The broadcast that came in, it eventually led to the Fleeca Bank off Great Ocean Highway. There, on a table, was a book, Fingerprints to Lang Buddha. His DNA is on everything that we found so far. In that book was your face. Let me see if I can pull up a copy. That's right. I don't have it with me. I'd seen it in the report. There was a riddle in there. The riddle led to... It was a riddle that translated to house. And with your photo there, I immediately realized we need to go to Rue's house. Luckily, I'd convinced everyone, I'd known where it was because that exigency situation many months ago. When we arrived, inside on this, going up the staircase, firstly, the door was busted open. Signs of it being kicked in. Up the stairs to the right by a couch was a bomb. 4 members of law enforcement went in. They began to make their way to the bomb after they cleared the house of anyone being inside. And before they could get to the bomb, their second time through, a second bomb that had been left behind exploded, taking them out. That's when I went in for the second bomb. After all the injured parties had been taken out, and I too, luckily somehow made it out alive after failing to defuse the bomb. Those bombs were not set up to be removed. They were set up to hurt. But as to how your name was in that book, nobody knows other than you, me, and Blunt the truth. But I had Octo walk up to me, and this really agitated me. Because I knew there was some truth to it. Remember a long time ago, before this all began, I mentioned that it is very difficult to do what we are asking you to do in the way that we are doing it.
Yeah, I do.
Even Octo that day, when I said, stay back, decided to run your plates on the bike. And he said, I ran Rue's plates. He didn't know who you were, but he remembered the name. Why he ran them, it's because he was, just like everyone else, too fucking curious. And he said, what if the people that she met up with thought she was with us because of that one action? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think anything of it. That day when it happened, I didn't really see the risk. But when Octo... it was in the back of my mind when I saw your face on the book, but it wasn't until Octo brought it up I realized if this is what he is thinking, then what was it that they were thinking? And maybe things are not the way I expected them to be. The second, I spoke to Ruby yesterday, and she too was prying. Myself and Blunt denied it. Continued on with the story. As much as I appreciate what Ruby does, this isn't her business. And just as those that are very curious, she kept prying and prying and prying, and she mentioned that not everyone... She made some comments, like she knew. And unfortunately, she, like many others, want to be the ones that know. It's a city. They want to be the ones that know the truth. Have solved the mystery. Be in the know. And she alluded to you working for us. She cited the fact that you had sent the same text to her were the same texts you had sent others, and those others had compared notes. And those others, being law enforcement, instead of thinking to themselves, wait, what if this person is working for the marshals decided that the mystery and solving it was more important. That the knowing what you are doing and being in the know was more important. So whether it was that day that you asked for a repair kit, or whether it was law enforcement themselves, something led to them believing you work with us. So they decided to blow your house up with zero care of who else was inside. The problem now lies here, and I had talked briefly about this with Blunt, is that this situation can be a motive to continue on with the plan. But then this morning, as I was freshly thinking on it, I realized that there are two issues here. One, the risk has gone up tremendously. And putting you in prison might be suicide. The second problem is that people like this, no matter how much convincing you do, the only way they're going to be convinced is if you do something in front of them.
I mean, more than likely, considering they're at the conclusion that I'm involved with you guys.
Yeah. UC work is very difficult in San Andreas. It always has been. I don't want to pressure you one way or another. In fact, I almost think it's too dangerous. However, if this is something you wish to do and continue, as opposed to letting the cat out of the bag and get you on the force, I want to leave that choice to you.
Can I ask a question before answering that?
Absolutely. And if you need some time, that is fine as well. I don't need an answer today. Unless you have one.
I was going to ask, what does this job mean to you? What keeps you coming back every day to work that job?
No matter where I look, everything is tainted. This city needs to be cleansed. It needs to be scrubbed down to its core. The entire institute has failed. The hospital is at risk. Their board colludes and is so deep in corruption, so lost in their communication, they allow individuals to be hurt inside. And while I know that those recent victims you may not harbor positive feelings towards them, the question that you should even ask yourself is, who else was hurt? Who else will be hurt? If a doctor is willing to take a blade to someone's head in order to get revenge at a personal level, what else have they done in the past? And for every individual involved that watches idly as their leaders allow it to continue, they too are motivated to do the same. I look at the police department I watch people every day do things that are absolutely despicable and then blame those that set them straight as if they're the problem. The past two mayors in Los Santos County, absolute scum. The first, a weed grinder that spent more time paying off his bills for the manor only to get a nice seat in the mayor's office where he did absolutely nothing. And the one time he needed to do the right thing, he decided against it. An entire police department created for those that could not be contained and kept accountable. A chief of police, on one hand, who tried to murder an essential worker, given a second chance, sworn in a jail cell, and no different the second time he was put back into place. But then a chief on the other end of the spectrum that I had to defend for a short period of time, that spends more time standing in circles contemplating problems surrounded by those who fail to make any semblance of a solution. Even Blaine County is to blame. Yet a mayor that was able to, two mayors back to back that took more, who were more interested in keeping themselves in power, be it Princess, be it Junior Huntley. Junior never saw jail. And then you have the lawyers. Few that have a strong moral compass, but most that are very much willing to just get away with doing things they shouldn't. So when you ask me, why do I continue doing what I am doing? It's because of the fear of what happens when I stop. Because every week, there's another person that has fallen into the cancer of being self-consumed in oneself and their friends and seeing who they are based on their position. These aren't doctors. These aren't people that are doctors. These aren't people that are cops. These aren't people that are sergeants and chiefs of polices. These are not people that become mayors. Their job title and their position becomes everything that they are, and they are willing to fight tooth and nail to ensure that that identity, that sad identity that they themselves only see them whole selves as remains. If I stop doing what I am doing, I know it's only going to get worse. And I know everything is going to come to an end eventually. But I know that I need to slow it down long enough to help save those that matter. Including those that haven't had the conscience yet to turn away from such a desolate mentality. And eventually, when the time comes, whatever that may be, riots through the city, a fucking nuclear bomb, I'll at least know who I personally wish to save.
Well, if I keep doing the stuff I'm doing now, I'm probably going to end up in a body bag. Gonna be no help in a body bag. I think, no, I want to get into a uniform.
Okay. Come into the office tomorrow. And we're going to get you onboarded. But there's one thing you need to promise me.
Mm-hmm.
Do not let the anger consume you. The difference between a good cop and one that is just as bad as the rest is one that can contain their emotions when the decision to pull the trigger is made. But when the opportunity arises, you do whatever is necessary.
Understood. That's a promise I can keep.
All right. You're going to have a lot of work ahead of you, Rue. I'm going to be yelling at you quite a bit, and I expect others to as well. If anyone treats you like a child that needs to be babied, I want you to complain to me.
Sounds good.
One last thing. Be very wary of members of law enforcement. A lot of people have very loose lips, like I told you, especially when it comes to the things that we do. If they're not in the know, even within our department, they have no right to know. Tea is good when it's shared amongst those that are meant to have it.
Easy on.
All right. Stay safe.
I don't tend to... Pardon?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't really tend to run my mouth unless, it's to the people I need to speak to.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh. All right. Stay safe, Rue.
See you tomorrow.